In case somehow you missed it, yesterday Xbox had their developer direct, which is honestly a pretty cool way of doing this, where instead of like Phil Spencer getting up there and then having all of these like Hollywood people get up there and try to convince you that the game is really good, they instead just go up there and have the developers themselves talk to you, the community, about the game. And I love it much more than the standard like game awards reveal where they're like, oh, look, we brought the actor on stage to convince you that the game is really good. And it's like, I respectfully don't care that much. I'm sure the actor is very talented, but the actor is also an actor, not a gamer, doesn't might not even play video games. Like, it just doesn't really mean much to me. So I really like this format, for one. And we got a bunch of cool reveals and looks at different things. We got to look at the Indiana Jones game. We got to look at Avowed. We got to look at, of course, Hellblade 2. And I have thoughts on all of it. So we're gonna tackle it here and now. This segment, or if you're watching this after the fact, this stream clip is going to be on Indiana Jones. We're going to go through that. I'm going to offer my thoughts there. And then we're also going to do a separate clip for Hellblade and for Avowed, just so if you're only interested in one of those games, you don't have to sit through all three of them, okay? First things first, we've known about the Indiana Jones game for a minute. We've known about it, but we haven't seen anything about it. We knew that this was a passion project from Todd Howard. He had been hinting at it for a while, but there really was not much information available for it other than that it was coming from Machine Games. And if you don't know Machine Games, they're the guys that did the Wolfenstein games. Or sorry, Wolfenstein games, okay? So they're a very accomplished developer of cinematic first-person shooters, first and foremost. That's what they're known for. And here, they're doing something very, very similar. And they dropped this trailer and an extended kind of look at the whole thing. With all this, I think tonally, immediately, it does feel like Indiana Jones, which surprised me. I was kind of braced for this to feel like a weird spin-off, or maybe the cringiest thing they could have done would try to do a spin-off character or a separate character where it's like Indiana Jones, but you play as Shia LaBeouf. Like, I was really braced for something stupid like that, but they actually are doing it. They're doing the thing, and I think it's awesome. So with all of this, it's from Lucasfilm Games, it's from Machine Games. These little segments remind me of the opening of Uncharted 4. I don't know if you guys remember that, but running around the rooftop of the orphanage, it reminds me of that very, very vividly, which is funny. And then we get our shot of the titular character right here and now. What's interesting about this is Todd Howard. No, what's interesting about this is that the game developers chose to go with a first-person perspective for most of it, okay? Most of the game is in first person. They go out to third person for certain traversal elements like climbing up ladders or up ropes, free climbing, or cutscenes, of course, are in third person. But core gameplay and combat is in first person. And this has caused some drama. Shocker, right? Drama in the gaming community. It's caused some drama. And a lot of this is because people like adventure games like Uncharted in third person. They just like to have the wider view. They can kind of see the epic scale of things. Kind of puts you, especially when you're playing a voiced and written character, you're not playing like an RPG. Being in that third person perspective can make it clear that you're playing a character, not playing yourself in the world as a character, if that makes sense. So some people just were really hoping for a third person perspective. My perspective on this, offering my not third person perspective, is I think it was the right choice, honestly. I really do. Machine Games is a developer that specializes in first person shooters. For them to go and make a third person adventure game would be a little bit out of left field. I just think it would be a little too distant. And combat, third person versus first person, very different. They just are. It's in the same general area. It's still a shooter, but they're very, very different in terms of feel, in terms of controls, the added animation sets you have to build out for movement, for walking and jumping and getting behind cover. All of that stuff is extremely vast. It's not that simple to just switch to third person. There's just a lot of moving parts with it. And I think Machine Games is a studio that specializes in first person games, first person shooters, and they decided to focus on their specialty here. So that's what they're doing. And I think it was also, like I said, the right choice. I think it makes sense for that particular studio. For another studio, yeah, maybe go third person. For Machine Games, I think going first person is the right choice. And we still get the benefit of third person in adventure sequences, in cinematic sequences, in cutscenes and stuff. So we still get those perks there. But in the more lean areas that are just core gameplay, it allows them to give first person shooter stuff and focus on that. Some people, like I see Holger in Twitch chat, cannot play first person, vertigo and motion sickness. I totally get that. I'm somebody that can't play the Doom games because they make me motion sick. There's something about the way that those games are built in first person that makes me super motion sick. I can play other first person shooters fine, but Doom specifically makes me hella motion sick. It's really weird. I totally feel for you there. There's also, you know, unfortunately, there's some games that just don't work for people, some formats that don't work for people. You know, it happens. But all this to say, I think the first person versus third person perspective debate is going to rage just like it did with Baldur's Gate, just like it did with Starfield, just like it did with all these other games. It's going to be discussed. There's some people that are going to love it. Some people that are going to hate it. If they did third person, people would be rambling about how they're a first person focused studio and they should have done first person for combat. No matter what, there will be people upset. I think what they showed looks great. And the other benefit is that it separates this game from Uncharted, which is important to note. Yes, people are used to this type of game, Tomb Raider or Uncharted, being third person. This game is coming along and being like, yeah, we're going to do first person cutscenes and stuff. It's going to be third. Sure. Easy. And I think that works fine. I think if they're going to differentiate it, this is a good way to do it. And what they showed, honestly, looks pretty good as far as differentiations are concerned. I do think that this seems to catch its own vibe, and the animation quality of the actual hand movements seems really well done. I think it looks really good as far as a first-person game is concerned. And so I can't be mad about it. I think it looks solid. The rest of the game graphically looks very modern. It looks really, really good. Granted, this is most likely running on a high-end PC because this is coming to PC. But everything they've shown looks really good. And I'm actually very excited to play it. Now, some people are saying that this is like, yeah, it looks good, but it's not going to be a huge game or anything. I actually disagree. I'm already seeing the remnants and I'm seeing the early stages of mass market appeal. I'm seeing people from college, I mentioned this on the podcast, but people from college that are very casual gamers. They don't really actively play a whole lot. And they are seeing this go around social media today, and they've started texting me and being like, hey, what's this game about? Like one guy I even used to work with in commercial real estate, he texted me in between the podcast and this and was like, so what do I need to be able to play that? And when does it come out? Do you know? Like, that's exactly what they want. They want this to spread through the mass market. And that's how these games become extra huge. So I think they could find some actual success with it. Now, I don't think this appeals to the younger generation that much, but to the 30, 40-year-old gamers, this is going to be a big deal. And I would totally bet that once this game really gets the marketing campaign pushing really, really hard in the lead up to its launch, there's going to be a lot of people going out and buying Xboxes or signing up for Game Pass to be able to play it. There's just, it's a huge franchise, maybe not as big as like a Harry Potter or Star Wars, but still very, very big. And this could potentially be another great thing for Disney to be able to put forward. So I think it looks great. It did exactly what it needed to do. I think every part of it looks really well done. There wasn't anything to really complain about and be concerned by. Just in general, it looks really good. I know, like I said, some people are going to be upset about the first person thing. Other people are going to be, I saw one person saying they weren't going to play it because they didn't want to support Nazis. Guys, the Nazis are the bad guys in this game. Like, I can't believe we have to be saying this, but like, some people are like, yeah, did you see in the opening of the game? I saw somebody on Twitter and they were like, on the opening of the game, they did a freeze frame and they're like, look, these are Nazi insignia. There are Nazis in this game. I'm not going to support it and buy it. Oh my God. Like, bro, what do we do? Yes, they're the bad guys. What are you talking about? Like, yeah, I don't want to support the Nazis. So I'm not going to buy the game where they're the bad guys. What? Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. And also, I mean, I get it. You're probably like 13 and live on Tumblr and you've never seen Indiana Jones, but still it was pretty cringy. Like they thought they had discovered something by realizing this. It breaks my brain. But in general, I think the game looks really well, really good. I think they presented it well, and I think it does exactly what it needs to do. It's not that easy to take a game that we hadn't heard anything about other than it existed and who was making it, and then to come out with a trailer that shows you exactly what the game's going to be like, shows you gameplay, explains pretty well what the overarching game is going to look like, different locations and scope, and to make it look good while explaining all of that. They actually managed to pull it off, and I think this is a fantastic exclusive for Xbox to have, and it is coming day one to Game Pass. These are the types of exclusives that they really need. This is what could make the platform really filled out. And I've already been seeing people, I mentioned this on the podcast as well, I've been seeing people on Twitter/X saying, like, and they're well-known PlayStation fanboy accounts, they're like, well, I guess, I've been meaning to get a PC and maybe this is the game I just finally need to get a PC for. Because they're not going to get an Xbox. They can't do that. That would be a crossing a line. But getting a PC to play this, I think you're actually going to see it. And it again reaffirms the goal with Game Pass is not to move Xbox consoles, it's to sell software. And I cannot stress that enough. There's people saying, oh, bringing Hi-Fi Rush to the Switch would be such a blunder because then why buy an Xbox? If you say that, you are displaying a gross misunderstanding of their strategy, of what they're trying to do. They are not trying to sell consoles. They are trying to sell software. And if you happen to buy their console to buy that software, cool. But that's not the goal. The goal is to move the software first and foremost. I really think if Xbox had the ability to just release software and get rid of the Xbox console, they would rather do that. I really don't think that they want to mess around with anything else. And as proof positive of this,
about the health.
Oh my God, it's so loud. Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft. Bear in mind, this company is now worth approaching $3 trillion. Okay, it's the most valuable company in the world, and it's under this guy's leadership. He is a wizard of business. Okay, I cannot stress that enough. You don't see him in the media very much. All of that attention is taken by like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and those guys. But this guy is an absolute wizard. Okay, there is no discounting him. We studied the crap out of him in business school, and for good reason. He is a mastermind of everything that he touches. So just hearing him describe what they're doing with Game Pass, tell me if this sounds like they're concerned with selling consoles.
Blizzard, the thing that's going on in gaming, especially with the close of Activision, Blizzard, and King, we think that now we have the ability to really do what we've always set out to do, which is build great games and deliver them to folks across all platforms, right? Which is Xbox and consoles, the PCs, and now even including mobile gaming and cloud gaming. So we're excited about the future. We want to do our very best work.
Their whole goal is not to move consoles. We think that now we have the ability to do what we always set out to do. What did they always set out to do? Sell consoles? No. Build great games and deliver them to folks across all platforms. That's their goal. That's what they're trying to do. And they do that through Game Pass. If they can get Game Pass on the PlayStation 5, awesome. Will PlayStation ever let that happen? I don't think so. I really don't think so. But they've probably thrown it out there. They probably tried. I don't think that it would ever happen though, because they're not going to put up with that. So with that having been said, I think this is the start of hopefully a good year for Xbox, and hopefully PlayStation has some stuff up their sleeve and they can show off some really cool stuff, because right now PlayStation doesn't really have much of anything for this year other than like Helldivers 2, Suicide Squad, which they have a marketing deal for, but that is multi-platform, so it's not really exclusive other than the marketing. And beyond that, like The Last of Us Remastered, they just put that out today. But other than that, there's really not a whole lot going on within that. They do have like Stellar Blade. They have crap, what's it called? The a game set in China. Phantom Blade, I think, is what it's called. They have that. So there's a lot happening. Rise of the Ronin, yeah. Did I make up Phantom Blade? Am I just making that? Yeah, Rise of the Ronin. So there are a couple of games, but they're not first-party games. They're games that they've either bought exclusivity for from a third-party team, or games that they have. Oh, they have Final Fantasy. That's true. They have Final Fantasy. So they have a couple things early in the year, and then they have some third-party games, but they don't have anything currently coming from their big studios, the first-party studios that normally drive console sales, which is surprising. Maybe they come out with that like Atreus, Miles Morales type game in the fall to compete with like Indiana Jones now, and maybe that works. I don't know, but it's going to be an interesting year for sure. It'll either be very dry, or there's a lot of stuff that is unannounced currently that's going to come and really surprise people, I think. So fingers crossed. But Indiana Jones, I think, looks great. And this went for me from being a game that I was curious about, but I really did not care one way or the other. And it now is one of my most anticipated games of 2024. I wouldn't quite say hyped, because hype makes you stupid, as you can see. But I do think that this game looks really good. And considering it's on Game Pass day one, an absolute steal from what we're seeing right now. Absolutely baffling that games like this are going to start to be available on Game Pass day one for no added cost. The fact that they could have charged $70 a piece for this, and they will on Steam and Epic Games if they sell it there. The fact that this is a $70 game you're going to get for no added cost is absolutely crazy. I do expect them to do probably an early access thing, do like 3 days early access if you buy the deluxe edition, just like they did with Starfield. So buckle up for that. I think they're going to do that for any of these major games because they can get an extra $35 out of people. But yeah, I fully expect that to happen. Day one, yeah. So to be clear, Taco BR, I think. I do think they're going to do early access. So it'll be available on Game Pass, but to play it early, you have to pay the extra $35 for the deluxe version. I think they're going to do that again. And I think they're going to continue to do that for all of these major games, I think. He took my thing.